I'd like to introduce Deb Hicks from Boston area Gleaners. Hailing from rural Pennsylvania, Deb started farming after her freshman year at Dickinson College. After some years and some olive harvests abroad, she found her way back to working with food full time. Before joining Boston area Gleaners, Deb spent 3 years working for the food rescue, Lovin' Spoonfuls, where she built connections with dozens of hunger relief organizations in and around the Boston area. Deb has been with Boston area Gleaners for 4 seasons. And in 2024, Boston area Gleaners moved more produce than ever in its 20-year history. This includes 700,000 pounds of farm donations. So it's over to you, Deb. Thank you very much.
Kathy. Thank y'all for coming. I'll do my best here. So I'm here to talk about Boston area Gleaners bag and specifically our gleaning program and how over the last few years, most specifically changes from last season to, or 2 seasons ago to this prior season, small changes that we've made and how we as an organization are always looking to make small incremental changes or marginal gains, small improvements that overall lead to the success of our organization. Next slide, please. And next slide. I run the gleaning program, just backtracking a little bit. I'm the gleaning manager at Boston area Gleaners. So I run the gleaning program. Today we are going to be taking a brief look at the history of Boston area Gleaners and the programs that we run. There are 3 main ones, and then we'll get into these marginal gains or tiny tweaks that we've made. I've organized things into kind of buckets of resources. You see there, from people to technology. Some of you may have gone to Matt's presentation yesterday, to relationships, which together with containers are at the heart of our organization. No, just kidding. But you guys know the importance of all these things. And then look into the future, what kind of changes we might be making or what kind of change do we plan on making to continue with these improvements, and what kind of changes could you be thinking about making on the scale of your organization to improve, specifically gleaning. All right, slide please. Thank you. Okay, so Boston area Gleaners, we were founded in 2004. Is that right? Yes, thank you, Matt. Got Matt here close by for support. And became a nonprofit in 2007, first employee 2010, right? Matt, were you the second employee? Matt was the second employee. We purchased a farm in 2021. So that's a little bit, just kind of the timeline of things. Here you can see the 3 main programs that we run. We have food access, under which gleaning falls, and distribution. We have a farm that I just mentioned. I'll get more into that, and we have a food hub. I'll get more into that as well. So we, just like you guys, we're working at the intersection of farming, food waste, and food access. So food access program, which is what I'm going to be focusing on with gleaning. Just a lot of numbers here, but I'll help you work through them. So we're working with, this is the past fiscal year, working with, what was the calendar year? I'm not sure, fiscal, Matt's saying. 68 different distribution partners, so that's anything from like a pantry to like a meals program, you guys know. Over 5,000 different volunteer hours. Our volunteers are incredible. I won't spend too much time talking about them, but I will talk about them a little bit more later. They're amazing. 72 different recipient organizations. Oh, sorry, the 68 was donating partners, so those are farms that we're working with. But they're not just farms, sometimes they're produce wholesalers. We also, go to the produce terminal in Chelsea, Massachusetts. We have some connections there. We have staff with connections there from like historic, from other places of work and 5 food banks. This here, the center, the number we're kind of looking at, the counts, incoming counts of produce. You can see it's divided up. LFPA, for those of you not familiar with it, is the local food purchasing, agreement. I was gonna thank you, Brandon. Agreement, which has since been slashed. But we were moving working with a lot of farmers through the LFPA in the last couple of years. Gleaning under that 28%, that's including farm pickups. So the actual number of pounds that we moved with field gleaning, like actual getting out into and harvesting the product last season was, I think, 443,000 pounds. So then we also have an additional couple hundred, don't do the math on that. Just being donated like as farm pickups. So we're doing cooler cleanouts at different farms every week. For example, picking up CSAs that weren't cleaned, etc. And then wholesale donation, that's, like I mentioned, like we work with the produce terminal, we work with some folks at the produce terminal in Chelsea. And we work with, De Silva is a big partner of ours. They're a fruit, like mostly citrus wholesaler. They donate a lot of pallets that oftentimes B grade, oftentimes we have to go through a cullet, etc. It's a lot of food. We also get calls and watch different, I don't know all the channels that we're looking at for when there's like a tractor trailer load of something that has been rejected at a store, for example, maybe they just missed their delivery window. So a lot of food comes in to do that. We're also currently working with State Garden, which is a huge facility that boxes up a lot of, like, makes the clamshells for your Whole Foods, your Roche Brothers, your Market Basket, your generic brand, etc. Yeah, so this is how much we moved from just with food access last year. Contract trucking is, like, we include that in our large number, but this is produce that we actually like kind of had hands on. Next slide, please. Food Hub is another big program that we have. Constantly, it's been growing over the last few years. Like I said, it was kind of like really picked up in 2021 when we moved to Stonefield Farm. We work with a lot of different farmers. Some of those partnerships overlap, like farms that we are helping find a market for their food. We're essentially our Food Hub team and manager will create a list of like availability or what farmers think they'll have available, and then folks can purchase from that list. And we bring the food to Stonefield Farm. We allocate it and we ship it out. So we're helping farmers like increase their viability. The big number there is the revenue that we help with farmers get 1.3 million. So we're pretty proud of that. Next slide. Stonefield Farm, that's the farm that we're on now. Where all of our operations are out of. It's an action match for those of you who might be coming by. We'd love to have you. It's about 50-acre farm, and we farm about 20 acres of it. We also have a couple like kind of satellite locations, one satellite location, I think right now, that's like 3 or 4 acres, something like that. Historically, it's, they've grown a lot of nightshades there. So we're trying to get away from that, but I won't go into that, because that's not what this presentation is about. So starting this year, Stonefield Farm is going to be growing. All of the food is going to, like hunger relief, food access. In the past, this is the last year, you can see that, you know, some of it was sold to food banks through the Food Hub, some of it was donated, and some sold to wholesale customers. So we're gonna eliminate that wholesale customers. Next slide, please. Thank you. Okay, now we're getting into field cleaning. So that was the imagery. So just a couple, sorry, there's a lot going on in this slide, but just to orient you guys with the numbers, to see where we have been and where we're going, or where last season was. 2019 was our big gleaning year. This was before we moved to the farm, so, it was like our million pound gleaning year. I was not with that at the time. But it was a really heavy, year for a really good year for certain really heavy crops. So that contributed to it. As you can see, over 500,000 pounds, just because it was really heavy crops. And you know, gleaning was our only program at the time, so all of our efforts were focused there. Okay, moving forward, 2021, that's when we moved to Stonefield. And then what we're kind of looking at here is 2 seasons ago versus last season. You can see that last season, the number more than doubled of pounds gleaned. Despite the fact that for us, for bag, it was a really light apple year. We usually like really rack in the pounds with the apples. And we certainly did 2 seasons ago in 2023. So we're gonna keep this number in mind because we're gonna be talking about some big changes, which include a change to our number of paid staff that are dedicated to cleaning. In 2023, we had 6 paid staff dedicated to cleaning. In 2024, we had 3. So next slide, please. All right, these are the different things we're gonna be looking into. Next slide, please. Thank you. People, that's the heart of our organization. Actually, I meant to take my sweatshirt off before, but one of we have an incredible leadership at BAG. Busha and Dylan, for those of you who don't know them or do know them, they really help foster a community in which, like, you know, everyone belongs and everyone gets to pursue what their strengths are, and they just remind us constantly that people are our number 1 resource. So I'm telling that to y'all, you know that. Thank you. So yes, the people being, we're gonna kind of look at the apprentices. They play a big role in the gleaning program. So our apprentices, we've had apprentices at Boston Area Gleaners since 2018. And each year it looks a little bit different, but every year we've had at least 2 trip leaders and at least 2 apprentices. In 2020, we had 7 apprentices, because we were, you know, didn't have as many volunteers or didn't have any volunteers because of the pandemic. 2 seasons ago, like I said, we had two trip leaders, myself and someone else, and 4 apprentices. We decided to whittle that down to myself and 2 apprentices. Through our apprenticeship program, historically, the apprentices have been super active in the gleaning program, partially because that used to be all that we did. Last year, we did try with the 4 folks. We tried a model where we were shuffling folks through our different programs. So like maybe someone was with me for a week doing gleaning, and then they were with our colleague Dan doing packing. And then they were with our farmers and farm team doing farming, and then so it was a lot of switching up, which was a wonderful experience for them. But we were thinking that, you know, a little bit more consistency could make a huge difference. 3 people fit in a truck. So the Glean team and I could, the rest of the Glean team and I could be together at all times. Also, just having 1 point person means that there's less like redundancy, less, you know, communication or things, you know, loss in communication. You know, I'm always the person communicating with the farmer. And like, if we went to one farm one day and there's product left over and we want to go the next day, it's us going the next day. We know where the field is, et cetera, et cetera. Lots of benefits. We'll get into a couple more later. Also, you can do one more slide, please. So the apprenticeship, like I said, is like kind of historically been focused on the Glean team, and we got back to that focus, last season. In the past, the apprentices have sometimes have started their day a little bit later than the rest of the team. Last season, we decided that it would be really super beneficial for them to start at 7 with the rest of us. So that they feel more cohesively a part of the team. At 7, we have our morning meeting in which everyone shares, what's going on for the day for the ops team. And it just gives you a really good sense of even in different programs, things that you're not involved in, the other moving pieces, and there's a lot of overlap. As you guys know, in small organizations, we have a lot of people overlap, we have a lot of, farms who are active in different programs that we have overlap. So it's super duper helpful, and they learn a lot, and we can get right into whatever we're doing as soon as that's over. So that was a huge improvement that we made. Yeah, cohesive training, as I kind of implied, we were together all the time, so we could be talking about what our plan was on the way to a glean. Our very first glean, these are our apprentices from last season, Anna on the left and Carrie on the right, incredible human beings. And when in the hiring process, we're looking for people who are interested in what we're doing, are hardworking and excited, and are excited about taking on more responsibility and ownership. So that's kind of the trajectory of and learning, obviously. So that's kind of the trajectory of the apprenticeship. As far as learning opportunities were concerned, because it was just 2 people, it was easy something new that we did this year was, at the beginning of the season, we gave them a list of different kind of learning, trip opportunities that we've done in the past. These might be visiting a pantry and learning about what they do in their operation, and helping, with something that's happening there. We're going to a farm and helping with an activity and learning about their farming method or their equipment or what have you. So helping understand, more cohesively, who we're working with and what we're doing and what it looks like from another perspective. And also building those relationships which are at the heart of everything we do. So yeah, our first glean with Carrie and Anna, it was not intentional. I highly recommend for any of you bringing on new staff or apprentices. It was just the 3 of us. It was just the 3 of us. We went out, and it was a great opportunity for me to treat them like they were volunteers in the glean and get the volunteer experience, but then also talk to them about while you're actually in motion doing the things, why we would make certain decisions. Okay, now that we have these school crates, let's get into the back of the shop and think about how we're gonna build this pallet. Next slide, please. Yeah, so in season, we send out regular emails to once a week with our upcoming volunteer opportunities. Another reason, and it can be kind of, overwhelming. We have a lot of volunteer opportunities happening, especially with the Stonehill Farm now in operation. So having a smaller glean team and just one glean happening with the core 3 of us meant that we weren't, spreading ourselves too thin as far as volunteers are concerned, because if you have 2 consecutive gleans happening, which we already do, because now we have activities at Stonehill Farm for volunteers. That means that you might not have the people power to get what you need to get. Because in the past, we have had three consecutive volunteer events happening at once. So yeah, that was a big plus. And since we're seeing some of our lovely volunteers here, I think the next slide might be relevant to this too. Nope. That's okay. Yeah, speaking of volunteers, what did I want to say about volunteers? Oh, yes. We have an amazing crew of volunteers. That number of volunteer hours that you saw at the beginning, I'm some of our volunteers, I'm thinking one in particular, last season came to about 90 gleans. And other volunteers of ours, like, come to, 40, 50 gleans. And then we have a lot of people who come to a handful, so it's, pretty awesome. It's a great community, and as far as people with staff are concerned, we have a lot of overlap, a lot of, like, cross training, especially in the works, which I'll mention more at the end when we talk about the future. It helps with, people feeling as though they can take a sick day. With the trajectory of our staff, our apprentices, like learning and then also being trained on our vehicles. By the end of the season, by the fall, when it was apple picking season, and I didn't need to be on a tractor in an orchard, but vegetables are still growing. Carrie and Anna were leading things by themselves, and they were really happy to do that, and I was really happy that they were doing that. So yeah, this is Claire and Shahar on the left. Well, this coming season, we're implementing more changes for more kind of, not redundancy, but cross-training coverage. We're building out their teams. There are operations managers, so that hopefully they can have a more not relaxed, but not be working their butts off. Take a look at the picture on the right. I might reference it later. You can't see it, but this is our front loading dock. This was like kind of like a chicken shed, previously, and there used to be like one dock space when we moved here. You can just barely see our pack house, which is our center of operations. We do have a walk-in cooler there, which I'll talk about later. All right, vehicles and equipment. All right, another resource. We have like something like 22 or 23 trucks. It's crazy, I know. Like 22 or 23, something like that. And that's like between like box trucks and like larger ones and tractor trailers, and trailers, and like farm vehicle. So we have lots of vehicles and equipment. You can see the power jacks on the left. Training of the apprentices on the trucks, as I mentioned, was like super clutch, to the success of last season. We're definitely gonna do that this season. We're gonna do it sooner. We're also gonna train them sooner on the jacks. That was something that happened at the end of the year, but it's so important for like when you come back from a glean and your truck is full and everyone has already left for the day because it's 8 p.m. and I'm the only one who can operate a jack. So that's gonna be an early thing. Yeah, but we are fortunate, at Boston Area Gleaners, we have like tractors, we have forklifts, we have lots of equipment to kind of choose what the right thing for the job is. And one of those right things for the job is a bin trailer when it comes to.
Oops, sorry.
Yes. No, that's fine. No, this is good. This is Etta. She is the Glean team's truck. Because we had 3 people on our team, and we could all fit in one truck, that meant
There it is, okay.
we could establish that truck as the Gleaner truck. And
There it is.
other drivers were not taking our truck. We didn't need to worry about whether or not we had 2 trucks for the next day and shuffle which ones. We sometimes don't have to unload all of our equipment, because we're the ones taking it the next day. And it's also the only truck, well, the only small box truck that is not door like that. Which is super helpful for, a hot summer day. It does have the plastic curtain things, I forget what they're called. Yeah, next slide. I did not put those marks inside it. I do own up to anything I do though. All right, here's one of our tractors and our bin trailer. It makes an apple glean. as successful as you can make it, I guess, along with ladders. Yeah, this was, actually a really nearby, farm orchard, Honey Pot Hill in Stomax. And, 2 seasons ago, this was 2 seasons ago, we had a glut of apples because there were lots of weekends where it was rained out. So people didn't go and do the pick your own. But having a tractor, being able to operate that, you know, and not having to ask when we can something from the farmer is super helpful. You can see in the past, we used to, load directly into banana boxes using those soft, well, not buckets, but apple picking bags. And that's just a lot of work. It's a lot for our volunteers. Like every step that you can eliminate that a volunteer has to take, or every time like you can eliminate a volunteer getting up and down, that's like improving not only efficiency, but ergonomics, which is very important to me. Yes, I'm also a certified yoga instructor. So yeah, and with the bin trailer, you can keep on moving, be close to your folks. Oh, and we have the hard picking buckets, highly recommend, they reduce bruising on the apples. Containers, Ellen and Emily there on the left. These are, we love these two specific types of containers right now. And last season in particular, bulk bushel bins, especially the 10 bushel ones, but also equally the 20 bushel ones, which you saw in the previous photo. And reusable plastic containers, something that we kind of happened upon through a connection with an organization that say that stuff that like just collects a bunch of trash and recyclables from other organizations. These are foldable, you can see the reusable plastic containers here, how they're folded down, so they have a small footprint, which is amazing for, you know, when you're moving in the back of a truck. Yeah, the bulk bushel bins, especially those, I say especially those 10 bushel ones are great because they're easy for one person to maneuver in the back of a truck. Like you learn, you know, we're probably like really good at those little puzzles, you know, where you're trying to, because like that's what we do in the back of the truck. And we start thinking about it before we even load the truck at the beginning of the day. Sometimes we even draw a little picture to see how it's gonna work. Those are great, and not just for the fact that they're smaller and more and easier to like kind of maneuver, but also sometimes when it's really hot, you know, they have some like breathing holes there. I don't know what they're called, but it just a lot of times we'll get back from a glean, and because things are in plastic containers, we can spray them down. I know we all love the banana box, we still do, we still like hoard them, but these help us create an environment for the product that's going to help with the longevity of it. We have like plastic bin covers that we use a lot on something like this. You know, we would get back, we were harvesting lettuce into these, or carrots in this case, spray them down and then cover them before we put them in an environment that's gonna dry them up if we didn't. Yeah, and this also, just the 10 bushels gives a little bit more room for airflow. I've learned by mistake, as we all do, and we all want to continue to, that if you know, shove a whole bunch of heads of lettuce into a 20 bushel bin, that's awesome, you got them all in there, like the next morning, it's still warm. You know, under a layer or two of lettuce, and now I have to cut off the bottom of every head of lettuce and dunk it in water, and it's not gonna last as long. Just some other photos of container usage and some other lovely volunteers. And sometimes you don't need a container, like with this edamame. I was in the truck for most of the time, and you know, one person was cutting. with the right tool, which we'll talk about later. And then everyone else was moving handfuls of edamame. And I was shuffling those 10 bushel bins in the back of the truck to shove them in. Tools, checklist, super helpful. First week that the apprentices started, we made a checklist for cleaning items. And I think this is pretty much everything. And it's really helpful, like at the beginning, and we have a lot of different categories in the actual checklist, but it's also helpful later on too, when you're doing something a little bit different, because sometimes the right tool isn't what you think it might be. So good to bring a little something extra, for example, if you're harvesting, for anyone who's harvested sprout stalks, they are, like, I don't know, it's hard, like harder than like a 2x4 to cut through those. So you definitely need more than a knife. Pruners are great. We were joking about using like a Sawzall for that. But you know, think creatively about what works for you for tools. I've highlighted a couple of things here. The question marks are just kind of like extra things like, hey, maybe I should think about this. The things that I've highlighted are newer innovations / the walkie-talkies is just something I love. And I'm like, we need walkies all the time. We're on a farm and you're getting volunteers while I check out the crop. You know, it's great for communication, and it saves a lot of time. And also, like, if my walkie's going off, the volunteers around me can hear it. I don't need to do that awkward, like, you know, excuse me, like I'm not with you or with this person thing. Kneeling pads, something that rarely will a volunteer ask for, but if you give it to them, it'll probably make for just a much better experience. And you know, they can try out different positions for their harvesting that they might not otherwise, and their body's gonna be happier, and they're gonna be more efficient, and they're gonna come back more. Step stools super helpful for things like corn harvest, or when we are building those 10 bushels in the back of the truck. Just something that makes things safer, and you know, getting in and out of the box truck dozens of times a day is no fun. Sheaths for our knives, super great for not losing knives, but also like, you know, having both hands to use, because if like a volunteer is done, who I, you know, designated as the cutter is done or wants to switch, or gives me their knife, like that's just, now I don't have a hand, you know, and need to go back to the truck or something. Technology, Matt's right here. This is a super cool innovation that Matt made this last season. Is we use Slack. Matt can speak more to a bunch of different, you know, tech systems or whatever they're called. We use R, but through Slack I just learned is owned by Salesforce. So, and you can connect the two. But we used to have a workflow that we would put into Slack. It would show up in Slack as when we were inventorying from our glean. And then somebody at home base would open up Salesforce and put that same data into Salesforce to receive what we harvested, and then pronounce labels, etc. I think I'm getting really well on time, aren't I?
You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. Okay, so now, we inventory directly, basically into Salesforce. We put into this form in Slack, and it shows up as received in Salesforce. So that's super awesome. Another tech, innovation that we made a number of years ago is using Twilio, which is like a mass texting system. So if we have like those pop-up gleans, we'll like send volunteers when they sign up for their first, when they first sign up. Or at the, as also a reminder at the end of like every volunteer, opportunities email that they, if they wanna sign up for text alerts, they can. So that's great, we can just be like, you know, we need you tomorrow for this, sign up. Okay, next slide, please. Here's some awesome volunteers doing a huge squash glean. This is what, like volunteer opportunities looks like on the volunteer side, not the back end. I won't go into this very much because of time, but, we have a highly customized green web and we love it for volunteer management, for putting in our trips, et cetera. And I will just comment really quick on not time to talk about, to go into a lot in this talk, but as far as like marginal gains are concerned, there's just so many tiny things, like getting a whole bin closer to your group of volunteers. If you can make every little thing, you know, people say, no, it's fine. But if you just, you know, give them, stack a bunch of bins up so that something is ergonomic for them, so that they don't have to do that squat. Those are the kinds of changes we're doing all the time. Next slide, please. Space then and now, space is a huge resource, as I'm sure everyone thinks about when you're limited on space. These three, trailers, coolers, are the three that we used to have before we moved to Stonefield. That's what we used to work with. Some of you might know, it's hard to, you know, inventory, moving things around, you need space. And the more space you have, the less of that, like, moving things just to get to something else that you have to do, which saves time. Next slide, please. We also have a walk-in, cooler that I kind of pointed out, that was behind all those trucks, that fits like, around 40 pallets. It's kind of like 4 spaces by 10 spaces, more or less. And yeah, now we also have, if you go back one, we have that back loading dock. We now have this back loading dock with 7 bays and all of this cooler space, which has allowed us to separate kind of our programs, like our food hub from our food access program. Okay, we'll go real quick. Relationships, you guys all know about this, but like, obviously, like asking a little help from a farmer. This is Andrew Appleton, he's amazing. We see him like at least once a week. And we don't hesitate to say like, hey, will you be able to use the tractor to load us up? Carrie and Ray. And that's not it. There's a lot of other stuff that happens after that, a lot of other areas for incremental improvements that we are always making. Okay. Oh gosh, sorry. We just started the carpool Slack. Matt played a big role in that. Reputation. Okay, oh, yeah, I mean, I guess, just try different methods. That's the trick. Look at what resources you have and see what else you can do with them. Crowdsource from other people, ask their ideas at the beginning of the glean, at the end of the glean. And, yeah, just keep trying until you hit on the right thing.
Thanks, Deb, for sharing with us. And, you know, Deb served as a mentor a couple of years in that program.
Yeah.
And just a prime example of how Agro only works when all of you help make it work. So appreciate the folks from Boston area Gleaners coming out and sharing their knowledge with us in so many different ways.